Hi, I'm Sierra Sanderson, and today I'll be speaking with Andrew Kercher about a piece of streetcar rail. So, Andrew, what is this?
That's a great question. So obviously a big chunk of steel iron rail here, kind of rusty, but it's actually a really interesting piece of Port Huron's history. This is a piece of rail for a streetcar. It's kind of like a little train that we had running here in Port Huron between the 1880s and the 1930s.
Wow. So, what were they powered by?
So there's actually a couple different things. We actually had a streetcar system that went all the way back to the 1860s. So the railway comes to Port Huron in 1859, and those are, of course, steam trains, big locomotives. But streetcars like this started in the 1860s, and there was actually a smaller one that was pulled by horses, but it was still kind of easier to put them on rails. They would have wheels kind of like a train and have a little route, kind of like a bus system today throughout town.
So would you say this would have been the main mode of transportation for a lot of people back then?
It depends on when, but in the 1880s, Port Huron was actually lucky enough to get one of the first electric streetcar systems. That was a really advanced system in 1886, very popular, and that's how most people would have gotten around in town in the 1880s and the 1890s.
So would this have been before cars, after cars?
So kind of contemporaneous, so at the same time. So it starts all the way back, like I said, in the 1860s. It's well before cars, and it would stick around being in operation until 1930s. It was largely replaced by automobiles. By 1927, there's actually a bus line already operating in town and modern kind of automobile buses that would replace the streetcar system.
How did you get this object?
That's another great question. So this is actually a piece from Griswold Street. So a lot of people know Griswold. That's one of the main streets that a lot of people travel today. And there was, of course, a streetcar line there. When they were doing some work on Griswold a number of years ago, underneath the asphalt, underneath the pavement, there were some of the original brick pavers and these pieces of streetcar rail that were taken up when they repaved the surface. And we were able to get a small chunk of that. That's been history that's kind of been hidden right beneath our own feet.
When would you say that we stopped using streetcars in Port Huron?
Yeah, so 1930 is when they were able to finally discontinue the last of the streetcar. They reached their heyday around the turn of the 20th century. Before most people had any sort of car, that was still the most popular way to travel. But by the 1930s, things like the Model T, more people had automobiles and buses, kind of replaced the system.
And I know you said this is a new item, so where can people find this at the Port Huron Museum?
So right now, this is still being entered into our system, but our curator Campbell will probably have it out, and maybe some of the rotating exhibits. We always have lots of little small things spread throughout the museum, but they'll be able to either find that here in the Carnegie or in our storage for a future exhibit.
Thank you, Andrew, for talking with us today about this object, and thank you for watching.